We're going to take a few minutes today and explain to you how to connect a accessory switch controller to your railroad. What we want to point out, earlier we talked about the support end of the ASC. That would be the communications and the power. DAT is connected to our command base cable, which is right here. This is our command base cable. This connects to our command base, and the red and green wires connect to our DAT and COM connection. So what I have is this wire here going back to my command base. I have a legacy base right here. The computer port has the cable in it, coming back to red on DAT, green on COM. Then I'm using one of these 1-foot controller-to-controller cables to come out of DAT and COM over to our operating track controller, our OTC. Then another one of those controller-to-controller cables from the OTC over to our AMC. So it may look a little confusing, but it's very simple. DAT is red, green is connected to COM. It goes to my command base cable to the base, out of DAT and COM on a separate cable to DAT and COM on the OTC, another cable from DAT and COM on the OTC to DAT and COM on the AMC. I also have a separate transformer here to provide power to my devices. I'm taking a black and red wire from my 1.4 amp accessory transformer, putting it to A and U. On the other A and U, I have a red and black wire coming over to power the OTC on A and U on the OTC, running power over to my AMC on A and U. I've got this voltage set to 14 volts, so my ASC, OTC, and AMC are receiving 14 volts of power to operate. Now, the business end of my ASC, I still need to address. So what I'm going to do, I've got a blue and a black wire. Blue is AC hot, black is AC ground. My two transformers are in phase. I now take my Tortoise switch machine, which is a slow motion stall type switch machine. The outer two posts are the DC input, DC plus, DC minus. Now, mind you, I'm using AC power to control a DC switch machine. In order to make this work properly, I've had to add two 1N4001 diodes. These diodes are available at any electronics store, Radio Shack, or any electronic wholesaler. It's a very simple 1 amp diode. I've got the cathode, or the silver banded end. I have one pointing towards the switch machine, and I have another diode pointing away from the switch machine. I've taken those two leads, soldered them together on this yellow wire, covered that connection with some shrink tube to prevent a short. And these two devices, the 1N4001s, one diode will go into my 4O position, the other diode will go into my 4T position. So let's go ahead and make that connection now. Okay, so I've got one diode in 4O, another diode in 4T. I've already taken the liberty of taking my AC ground from my accessory transformer, my black wire, bringing it into common on my ASC, and then installing a jumper to the other common on the same ASC. What this is doing for me is I now have AC ground available for these two outputs, and AC ground for these two outputs. Now what I need to do is connect AC power to my switch machine itself. To do that, I'm simply going to connect it to the AC hot line I have on my accessory transformer. Again, this is set at 14 volts. So I'll tie these two leads together. And now I've completed the circuit. I have 14 volt AC hot going to my Tortoise machine. I have ground coming back through two diodes, two opposing diodes, which will be connected to AC ground when I activate my ASC. Now, what I need to do is program my ASC for constant voltage. It's a Tortoise machine. It requires voltage all the time. So, I remove the jumper on the side of the ASC, take it off. Using my legacy remote, I'm going to press switch 1. Actually, to assign this to constant voltage, I'm going to use 99. I believe it's 99 is constant voltage and 98 is momentary voltage. So I'm going to press switch 99 set. You may not be able to see it, but my green LED comes on when I press the set button. I've now told my ASC that it's going to provide constant voltage. I then need to program my switch outputs 1 through 4. So I press switch 1 set. My green LED comes on again. I can replace my jumper because the programming is completed. Now what I've done is I have set this for switch 1, switch 2, switch 3, and switch 4. If I bring another ASC into the equation and I need to program it to be 5, 6, 7, 8, I simply set the parameters, whether it's fixed voltage or momentary voltage, and then I set the ID with switch 5 set, and that sets it up for 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on, all the way up through 99. So I have my switch, my Tortoise machine, connected to switch 4 on my ASC. So using my Cab 2 remote, I'm going to press switch 4 and the aux 2 button. Now constant voltage is being applied to this motor right now. Even though it's stalled, it's holding the points over on the switch. To get it to throw the other way, I hit aux 1. My switch throws the other way. So the switch machine has power to it all the time, which makes it impossible for me to throw. If I try to move this, it's just going to move back automatically because it has power at all times. Tortoise machines, Hank Crafts machines, anything that is a stall type switch motor is ideal for the ASC. And just because it requires DC power, with the use of these two 1 amp diodes, we're able to use AC current or AC power to provide DC power to the motor. Now let's take some time and hook up a DZ1000, which as we talked about in the SC2 video, when we ran it on the SC2, it was momentary power. So the lights, the LEDs on the switch machine itself would not stay illuminated. With this setting of having constant power out of the ASC, we can now keep the LEDs on the DZ1000 illuminated. Before we do that, let me go back and program this to momentary output so that you can see what the results are with this Tortoise machine. So to program it, I'm going to remove the jumper on the side. I'm going to take my legacy remote. I'm going to press switch 9-8 set. My LED is solid for a second. I'm going to press switch 1 set. LED solid again. I've set this up for switch 1, 2, 3, 4, but only on momentary power. So let me show you what happens there with this stall current machine. So I press switch 4 and I hit aux 2. Switch stalls. It stops. I can move the switch back manually and it won't come on until I press aux 2 again or hold aux 2 down. As long as I hold it down, power will be applied, but as soon as I release aux 2, power turns off. So in the event the switch points get picked, the switch can move. It's not gonna stay in the same position. So let's go back and program it to constant power. Remove the jumper, switch 9-9 set, switch 1 set. Reinstall our jumper, press aux switch 4 aux 2. Now power is supplied to that motor constantly. Alright, let's take a moment and go ahead and hook up that DZ1000. Very simple. I'm just going to go ahead and pull out the 4T and the 4O connection where my two diodes are. Remove that. Disconnect the power here. Put my Tortoise machine aside. We have a DZ1000. This is not to be confused with the DZ2500. This is the non-command version of the DZ series of switch machines. So I'm going to take R and L, which is yellow and green, and they're going to get connected to the 4O and the 4T on my ASC. Now, I still have ground from my accessory transformer coming into the COM on the business end of the ASC with the jumper installed to COM on this side. So I'm controlling AC ground across all four outputs of the ASC. I'm going to take the red wire, which is the center terminal of the switch machine, and I'm going to connect it to the AC hot on my transformer that's providing ground to the business end. Now, because my ASC is programmed for constant voltage, the red LED on my switch machine stays on. When I press switch 4 and the aux1 button, or the straight arrow key, my switch machine throws and my green LED is illuminated, and it stays illuminated because my ASC is putting out constant voltage. Let's go ahead and change the ASC to momentary voltage so that you can see how those LEDs don't work. Remove our jumper. Hit switch 9-8 set, switch 1 set, reinstall our jumper. Now I'm going to press switch 4 aux2. As long as I hold aux2 down, the red LED stays on, but the moment I release it, the LED turns off because I'm only controlling momentary power. aux1, same deal. I hold aux1 down, the green LED stays on, I release, turns off. If I want those lights to stay consistently on, I need to set the ASC for constant voltage. One last time, that's switch 9-9 set, switch 1 set, reinstall my jumper, and now when I press switch 4, aux1, my light stays on consistently. aux2, red light stays on consistently. Switch is throwing as well. That concludes the DZ1000 and the Tortoise machine wiring. We'll go ahead and grab a Lionel switch and show you how that works next. Alright, we have here a FasTrack remote switch. This is a non-command version, just a regular remote switch. Same one we used in the SC2 video. So what we've done on the underside of the switch is we've removed the jumper that goes between track power and auxiliary power in. We want to run our switch machine on a constant voltage. So we've installed a red wire on AC in, or auxiliary AC. So this is going to be connected to our accessory transformer, providing a constant 14 volts to our switch. To connect the ASC to the switch machine, we need to add actually 3 wires. We're going to do yellow and green for through and out, and it's clearly labeled on the back of the FasTrack switch which one is through, which is yellow. We'll install this wire in through. We'll install our green wire in the out position. We're going to bring in this gray wire and install it in the center ground position. And let's make our connections to our ASC. So we're going to take yellow that's currently connected to through and put it to our, let's put it to 2T. We're going to take the green wire, which is connected to out, and put it to 2O. Now our gray wire that we currently have in ground needs to connect to the common here on our ASC. specifically the common that correlates with 2O, 2T, 1O, and 1T. So because we have a jumper, we're just going to go ahead and pop this terminal up and insert this gray wire. We now have COM to ground, 2 out to the out position, and 2T to the through position. The final connection we need to make is our constant voltage, our fixed voltage accessory AC in, which is going to go to the blue line of our accessory transformer. This is providing the same power that the ground is coming from to our ASC. Turn this over. Now, this is a switch that uses a small DC can motor. There's really no requirement to put constant voltage to this switch like we did to the Tortoise or the DZ1000. So we're going to program our ASC for momentary power output. So we'll remove our jumper. We'll press switch 9-8 and set. That tells our ASC that we only want momentary output. And now we need to program the switch number. So let's assume that we already have 2 other ASCs in the equation. They would be 1 through 4 and 5 through 8. So let's make this switch 9 so it becomes 9, 10, 11, 12. So we press switch 9, set, reinstall our jumper, and now our outputs are 9, 10, 11, 12. So we'll throw our switch machine by addressing switch 10, because we're in the second output, and press aux2. Switch throws. Pressing the aux1 or the straight arrow key throws the switch straight. And it's just that simple. Repeat that same process for all of the FasTrack switches you have on your railroad to your ASC. Simple programming step, and you're good to go.